a family vacation, a weekend getaway, or even a business trip. They come to our properties for a variety of reasons, and we welcome them all. But there are also some disturbing things happening at resorts, motels, and hotels across the country, and we need your help to stop it. It is called human trafficking. Human trafficking is a form of modern slavery. U.S. law defines human trafficking as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person into a commercial sex act or labor or services against his or her will. The one exception involves minors in commercial sex. Inducing a minor into commercial sex is considered human trafficking regardless of the presence of force, fraud, or coercion. Human trafficking is the world's fastest growing criminal enterprise, with global profits estimated in excess of $150 billion annually by the International Labor Organization. Human trafficking is believed to be the world's second most profitable criminal enterprise, second only to drug trafficking. Perpetrators often use legitimate businesses to carry out their heinous crimes. These crimes regularly occur in hotels, motels, and resorts, oftentimes unbeknownst to the proprietors, making the property or business a victim as well. Traffickers also use travel mechanisms to transport victims and carry out their crimes, including the use of rideshare apps, taxis, and airlines. Traffickers are capitalizing on the lack of awareness around this issue within the travel and tourism industry. All too often, they continue to exploit their victims unchecked because staff, managers, and executives do not know what to look for. While the internet has been a positive catalyst for change, it has also enabled perpetrators to find victims. Many times, crimes of human trafficking will start in cyberspace and be executed in the physical world and could occur unknowingly at our properties. The travel and tourism industry is in a key position to protect victims from human trafficking by making sure their services and venues are not misused by traffickers, and training staff to be aware of possible warning signs. This training video shows and discusses the warning signs that those in the hospitality industry may see while on the job. As hospitality industry professionals, you routinely interact with the guest on your property, and you are in a unique position to see and report warning signs occurring on the property. Many of the warning signs for commercial sexual exploitation may look like legal activity. However, when there are multiple warning signs involving the same person or group of people, that is when we need you to intervene. The safety of these victims is critical. When in doubt, speak up. This video was designed to educate hospitality staff, people like you, about what to look for and what to do if you believe human trafficking is occurring at your property. There are many red flags commonly found in instances of sex trafficking. This video will cover the indicators for potential victims of human trafficking, traffickers, and buyers. There are many indicators to recognize potential victims of human trafficking. Perhaps there are victims exhibiting anxious or nervous behavior and avoiding contact with staff and other patrons. There could be victims loitering and soliciting male customers. A victim could be waiting at a table or bar and picked up by a male. There could be victims without access to their own ID, cell phone, or money. Victims could claim to be an adult, although their appearance suggests otherwise. Victims appear to not have freedom of movement or appear to be constantly monitored. They tend to avoid interaction with others. There could be victims that appear restricted, medicated, or controlled, and they are not allowed to speak for themselves, and their answers seem coached. They may tend to avert eyes and do not make eye contact, especially with a boyfriend or girlfriend. They may demonstrate a lack of knowledge about current or past whereabouts and exhibit a loss of sense of time. They may be dressed inappropriately for their age, have lower quality clothing than companions, or are wearing clothing inappropriate for the weather conditions or surroundings. They may appear to be with a significantly older boyfriend or girlfriend, or in the company of older buyers. The victims are treated in a demeaning or aggressive manner, or there is evidence of verbal threats. There may be a minor with a guest late night or during school hours, and not on vacation. There are many indicators to recognize potential traffickers or buyers. The buyer could be a guest who is using the property to purchase commercial sex. For instance, if there are individuals hanging out in the restaurant or bar or are appearing to monitor the area. There could be a guest entertaining a young person at the bar or restaurant that they did not come in with originally. Perhaps a guest requests information or access to adult services or to the local sex industry. Please keep in mind that these examples are just that. They are examples of what could be signs of sex trafficking. The thing to remember is to be aware of what is going on at your property, and if you think that there may be something illegal occurring, never question the guest or put yourself in a dangerous situation. Let the authorities handle it. Immediately contact your supervisor or security personnel. If you believe there is an immediate threat, call 911. To report suspicious instances or to access local resources, including trained law enforcement officers, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-3737-888. For additional resources and training materials, please visit www.safeactionproject.org. Branding is used by traffickers to indicate which victims work for them. Essentially, traffickers brand their victims with tattoos and consider the victims as their property and not as human beings. The tattoos will generally be in visible places such as forearms, arms, neck, legs, chest, and back. The tattoos could be of money signs, diamonds, crowns, mottos such as trust and loyalty, cash only, and in some cases, the name of the trafficker. Victims of human trafficking have experienced extensive trauma in their lives. Common mental health indicators seen in victims can include anxiety disorder, dissociative disorder, explosive personality, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, panic, paranoia, post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, and violence. It is essential to recognize that when victims display these mental health indicators in their behavior, that it may be presenting due to the trauma that they have experienced. Victims could demonstrate this behavior while they are being trafficked or after they have exited that life. When victims exit the life of trafficking, it is important to remember that they face several barriers to reclaiming a sense of normalcy in their life. Often people who have been victimized suffer from substance abuse and addiction issues, and some may be unable to enter rehab programs if they are still using. Victims may be using drugs or alcohol to cope with their trauma or PTSD symptoms. Victims may suffer from relationship challenges because they have difficulty creating healthy relationships due to their trauma. Victims are conditioned to behave in a submissive way with a heavy reliance on their traffickers, and some people who have been victimized may avoid eye contact with others. Often those who are victimized were limited in conversations with other men as it was deemed inappropriate. There are also economic challenges that victims face. When they obtain lawful employment, they see their 2-week paycheck and think that they could make that amount in one night. Even though they would never receive that money from their traffickers, they have a false sense of what they could be earning if they were working independently. Their brain has to be rewired to have a realistic sense of reality. Victims often need education on healthy economic stability. Many times, victims face daunting legal issues. Trafficking does not happen in a vacuum, and there are other associated crimes that occur. Traffickers put many of the elements of various crimes on the victims so that they will be culpable. Victims lack knowledge of that there are resources available to them so that they can exit the life of being trafficked. They are confronted with many challenges, and it can be very daunting for victims. A person who has been victimized has to be ready to receive services or request the services themselves. Many trafficking victims have experienced trauma prior to their trafficking, and services to trafficking victims should also include services that work on the prior trauma as well. If previous trauma is not addressed, victims are likely to end up being trafficked again. Victims have been conditioned to behave in a certain way and have been emotionally and psychologically manipulated during their victimization. It is crucial to help victims know that they do not need to be defined by their victimization, and that they have untapped potential to achieve their dreams.